So it's been more than a month, if you can believe it, since Donald Trump announced his sweeping and pretty ridiculous tariffs. But Mr. Art of the Deal, as he calls himself, has not yet struck a single trade deal, not a single one, with any single country.
A few moments later.
Most likely those trade deals are going to come from leaders that he's more comfortable with. And he certainly, again, says he's very comfortable with Keir Starmer.
Yeah, no question there. For President Trump, diplomacy is very personal. I mean, there's the degree of that for most presidents, but this one in particular, it's really whether or not he likes you. We know there have been foreign leaders he very much did not like. He did not care for Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada. But this is going to be a political win for the White House, Mika. President Trump up very early this morning, posting around 5:30 in the morning. We've heard from him a couple times already today about this. They're going to have an event at 10 o'clock. He's going to hold a news conference along with it.
The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products. But this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So,
and in the end, it comes down to, as you say, Donald, economic security is national security. On national security, we've been absolutely the closest of allies for so many years, keeping the peace through that close alliance, that friendship. And now we add to that this deal on trade and the economy. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald, and for the way in which your team have negotiated this. And I'm so pleased that we've got this deal. We've finalised it.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, we're going to get a copium overdose from the mainstream liberal media over the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, okay? Because these people have been begging and begging and begging for trade deals, right? They've been begging the Trump administration to produce some trade deals, okay, as criticism of his trade war, okay? President Trump's attempt to reorganize trade in a way that is more favorable towards the United States of America. It has been mocked by the media. Okay, you've seen the media become full-blown Chinese propaganda. Okay, this is why I call CNN the Chinese News Network and MSNBC, MSCCP, okay, because they're basically pushing propaganda on behalf of China, okay? And this idea that the trade war is stupid, Trump's tariffs are stupid, and that he should fold, right? He should fold on this trade war because they much rather see Trump lose than for America to win. They much rather see China win than for Trump to win. They would rather see America fall before Trump takes a victory.
Scott Bessent today under oath said we're currently negotiating with 16 of the 17 most important countries. And he'll be meeting with the Chinese this weekend when they all converge in Switzerland. I think dealing with, with all due respect to all these other countries making deals, they're small and relatively unimportant. We're the big player in the field, and everybody knows it. And people would rather do business with us than do business with China because of what Jim just said. They have all these strategies to inflict pain upon you if you don't bend to their will or allow them to break the rules. And so I think when you're dealing with the United States, it's going to take a little bit of time to work out the best deal for us and the best deal for them. But I have a lot of confidence that when push comes to shove and people get right down to it, an alliance, a trading partnership, business dealings with the United States is a heck of a lot better than being reliant on the Chinese because they have seen what they have done to us and everybody else in the world. The decoupling and the isolation of China is a real thing, and, it may be a little painful, but it's necessary. Most significant country.
No,
we are the
Scott,
world's
stop with the
superpower.
jingoism.
We are the world's superpower.
Stop with the jingoism.
Dealing with us is the most important thing.
Stop. Do you think that China can do just as well with the EU? Do you think that China can do just as well with India?
If I were the EU, I would not want to be reliant. And look what's happened to us. They don't want it.
It's not a question of reliance. It's a question on the fact that everybody is cutting deals with each other. We're not cutting deals with anybody.
We have one thing in the news tonight.
No.
You guys keep saying
they're having discussions with each other.
We're in the middle of talking to 16 countries, according to the Treasury Secretary.
According to the Treasury Secretary, we've been hearing from them for over a month that we're on the cusp. Any day now, any day. No, I'm saying that I've been
He's
hearing.
under oath today.
I'm saying that every deal that we heard about is coming any day now, any day now.
How
any day
quickly
now.
would you be able to cut a trade
How
deal?
quick?
I wonder
I
how
wouldn't. No,
sustainable.
let me answer that question. I wouldn't get into this mess in the first place.
I think that's a
the
very
difference.
good.
You wouldn't try to improve our
No,
trading
no,
relationship?
I would not get into this.
Scott.
mess.
Good to know.
No, Scott, let me tell you something. Kentucky, my friend, you guys import more than any other state in the nation. You want to represent that state in the Senate? You go tell the people of Kentucky why they have to sit there and listen to this nonsense. Their bourbon's about to be tariffed to hell. You guys are about to have no trade with Canada. You're about to lose millions upon tens of millions of dollars just in Ontario province alone with all the stuff that you're not importing there. So why don't you go tell the people of Kentucky?
we have a lot more ahead
I know a little
on
more
the
about
Canada
Kentucky
piece of
politics than
this.
you do.
Yeah.
I can tell you, they trust the president.
Oh, okay.
They voted for the president, and they're going to let him
I
make the
can't
best.
wait.
Yeah. So President Trump has announced that the U.S. and the U.K. have reached a historic trade deal. Okay, clearly that take from that deranged liberal woman did not age well. As I told you guys before, at the beginning of all this, I said that these people, their takes are not going to age well when it comes to President Trump's trade war, his attempt to reorganize global trade, because ultimately I believe that the man knows what he's doing. I think his team knows what they're doing. And you should have some faith in the president. You should not be cheering against the United States of America when it comes to trying to reorganize trade in a way that is beneficial to the United States of America. And lo and behold, in this deal right here with the UK, the Trump team negotiated a deal that is in line with exactly what President Trump said his goal was to do with reorganizing global trade, which was to open up markets for U.S. producers.
This morning, I'm thrilled to announce that we have reached a breakthrough trade deal with the United Kingdom. Incredible country. Today is a victory day for World War II. We won the war together exactly 80 years ago, so there could be no more perfect morning to reach this historic agreement. And it's beautiful weather out. I will tell you that, Keir. Beautiful weather. It's so perfect outside. But it's really, in particular, the agreement with one of our closest and most cherished allies. And we're so happy that that's the way it worked out. I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer and his very talented team for their outstanding work and partnership. Today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products. But this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I told you guys that when the first trade deal is announced, okay, once these trade deals start to come to fruition, which they have, and I mean, it was obvious that that was going to happen, that the markets would skyrocket, okay? That's what's happening. The S&P 500 is up 1%. I mean, it has been up 14% over the past month, okay? 14% over the past month, but I thought the dollar was collapsing. Nobody wants to invest in the United States of America, right? The tariffs are causing so much uncertainty. Bitcoin, back over 100,000, up 4% today. Okay, you talk about over a month, 35% over a month. Okay, the NASDAQ up 1.69%, up 18.4% over the past month. So we're talking about a stock market that is roaring right now. Roaring.
You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. You know, if we get that, if you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, if it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, if you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. Welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats. So very, very important element of everything, of what we're doing, unrelated to today, but related in the sense that we'll do, if that passes, we'll do even more business with the UK. We'll have so much.
As I told you guys, the trade deals mean at the very least, worst case scenario, is that we just go back to business as usual, right? But bare minimum, what happens is that we will work out some deals that will open up markets for American producers, right? Again, this is why the markets love this news. They love the news because they understand that, hey, taking off these non-trade barriers, right, allowing the United States to do business in other countries helps American producers, right? It's a good thing. This is common sense. It's amazing how they've stopped talking about the market being an indicator of the economy, right? All of a sudden now, they're not talking about the markets, right? And what's going on in the markets. Why? Why are they not talking about the markets? Well, because talking about the markets doesn't fit the narrative that they were pushing out just 3 to 4 weeks ago about how everything is collapsing, right? Nobody wants to invest in America anymore, except you have the UK doing business with Trump, and the stock market is on a historic winning streak. Now, again, the stock market hasn't fully recovered yet, but my point is that if you just stayed the course, you haven't really lost that much at this point from the trade war. And again, certainly we're going to be reaching new highs here pretty soon. Okay, we're only down 2.76% year to date on the S&P 500. So, you know, a couple of good trading days. And again, we could be looking at all-time highs, especially if we get more trade deal announcements coming soon, like India, Japan. Boy, this stock market is going to blow through the roof, right? It's going to blow through the roof. And a lot of these people are going to look really, really, really silly, really silly. So how is the mainstream liberal media reacting to this? Well, they're trying to pour cold water on it, right? They're doing what they always do. They're coping. They're high as hell off of copium.
A source telling CNN tonight that Trump is going to announce a trade deal with the UK tomorrow. Is that something you would consider a major trade deal?
No. So let's get some numbers and some context for the people at home. The United Kingdom, wonderful country, lovely people, love myself some fish and chips, don't mind their beer, but they're our 11th largest trading partner. They account for 3% of American trade. And if I took off all my shoes and socks and got 4 more people in the room, I'd be able to tell you that that leaves 97% of American trade are absolutely up in the air. Now, Laura, I want to tell you one more fact that will blow your mind. Mm-hmm. Go back 6 weeks ago. The average tariff the United Kingdom charged to countries around the world was 1%. That's the stakes here. So the best we can do is knock the United Kingdom down from 1% to 0, and it's already clear we didn't get them to 0. And along the way, the president is imposing a 10% tariff on the United Kingdom, making it harder for Americans to do business with trading partners over in the old Dart.
This is relatively low-hanging fruit. If you can't get a trade deal with the longest-standing and loyalist United States ally anywhere in the world over generations, you're going to be in trouble when you're dealing with some of the more obstreperous countries around the world, the ones that are more willing to resist your entreaties. And
let's go live right now to CNN's senior White House correspondent, Kristen Holmes. Kristen, just how significant is today's announcement?
Well, Wolf, it depends on what you mean by the word significant. Do you mean significant in terms of an actual trade deal or just the fact that there is a deal at all? Because what we are hearing right now is that this deal between the two countries is not actually going to be any what majorly significant. For example, we've heard it's limited in scope, that it is heavy on future commitments. But it is a big deal in the sense that Donald Trump and his administration have been touting for weeks now that they were going to get a trade deal. And in fact, when I talked to administration officials and allies of the president, they seem somewhat desperate to get a trade deal on the table to show that the economy was moving forward.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Before the trade deal was done, it was, Trump can't get a trade deal. He can't get one trade deal. No country wants to do business with Trump, right? That was the narrative. He announces a trade deal, which, by the way, I'm not in a rush for trade deals, okay? I understand they take time, which is why all this boohoo, whine, and crying from the media about, Trump doesn't have any trade deals. It's so fake. It's so fake because, again, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he doesn't produce any trade deals, it's because nobody wants to do business with Trump, right? Nobody wants to do business with America because of Trump. That's the narrative. But then when he gets trade deals, which clearly blow up the narrative that nobody wants to do business with President Trump or that nobody wants to do trade deals with America. When the UK, which is a large country, our 11th largest trading partner, okay, relatively speaking, the goal is to negotiate with at least the top 20, right? This is what the White House has been talking about. We get a deal, and now they're trying to say, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's insignificant. Well, it's not an actual full trade deal. Well, the details. It's like, well, you guys were rushing him to do a trade deal. You know that trade deals take months and months and months to actually negotiate. But what they agreed to here is an overall framework that is pro-America, that helps out American producers, that is going to help create jobs in this country. And we also keep the reciprocal 10% tariff on them as well, too. Now, we're dropping some tariffs on some other things, but we're keeping the 10% tariff on them as well, too, from Liberation Day as just, an enforcement mechanism to make sure that they follow through with their commitments. Now, the details need to be worked out, okay, and that may or may not stay, but regardless, this is at the very least an agreement on a framework for a deal, which that in and of itself is still a W, right? Yes, you have details that have to be worked out, but that's how it works with trade deals. As long as they agree to the framework and they follow through, that's the only thing that actually matters. Now, getting them to follow through, again, that's why the 10% is still there, right? That's my gut feeling. They're not taking that off until they follow through. That's the difference. Trump is going to make them follow through. So yes, this is a trade deal and it should be celebrated as such. But like I try to tell you guys with these people, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's what it is. You're seeing it play out right in front of our faces. See it in. Trump announces trade deal with the UK as tariffs continue to spark economic uncertainty. Nothing but negativity. Nothing but negativity, but the markets say differently, right? The markets say differently. But look at the headlines. Economic uncertainty. But the S&P is up 14%. We're talking about a historic run. A historic run. 14% over the past month. Wow. Okay. You got the New York Times. U.S. and Britain held trade agreement, but leave details to be settled. Right? Again, see, it's hilarious how they try to frame these headlines in the most negative way possible. This is what Trump is talking about when it comes to the bias of the media. So let's briefly read some of the copium from the New York Times. President Trump said Britain had agreed to increase market access for billions of dollars of American exports, including beef, ethanol, and other farm products under a new trade deal, but left many of the details to be worked out later, which is 100% normal. Again, you don't negotiate full-fledged out trade deals in a matter of a month, right? No, it takes months, if not years sometimes, okay? But again, the agreement in and of itself is a very, very, very solid framework, right? It's a solid agreement. The agreement promoted by Mr. Trump as the first of many that will result from his efforts to blow up the global trading system appeared to be more of a framework than a full trade deal. Again, it is unreasonable to expect a full trade deal in a month. That's just silly, right? Again, I want you guys to understand the trick from the media. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. The Democrats in the media are playing this game where they want to rush the Trump administration to do a trade deal. And then when he does a trade deal, they say, well, the deal was rushed, right? That's the game. That's the game. It's fascinating stuff. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Both sides agreed to drop tariffs on specific products and made general agreements in other areas, but officials from both governments will still need to meet in the coming months to hammer out specific language. That can be a tricky and difficult process, leaving open the possibility the agreement could still fall apart. Yeah, that's true. But again, it's going to be more about whether or not the UK, whether or not they uphold their end of the deal, right? I personally think that those reciprocal tariffs are still there to make sure that they uphold their end of the deal, right? Worst case scenario, we still gonna collect our money, right? Worst case scenario. Nevertheless, the leaders of both nations held a framework in joint announcements on Thursday that invoked the deep relationship between their countries. Speaking from the Oval Office and with Prime Minister Keir Starmer of Britain on speakerphone, Mr. Trump called it, quote, a great deal for both countries. Mr. Starmer called it a, quote, really fantastic historic day and invoked one of Mr. Trump's favorite historical figures by noting that it was the 80th anniversary of Winston Churchill announcing victory in Europe in World War II. The agreement will leave in place a 10% tariff that Mr. Trump imposed on Britain and other nations globally at the beginning of April. But it will pare back other tariffs Mr. Trump imposed on British steel, aluminum, and automobiles. In return, the British will open up access to beef, poultry, ethanol, soft drinks, cereal, and other products. Britain's government said tariffs on its auto exports to the United States would fall from 27.5% to 10% for a quota of 100,000 British vehicles. It also said U.S. tariffs on British steel would fall to zero. Mr. Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said Rolls-Royce engines and plane parts will come over tariff-free, while the United Kingdom will buy 10 billion of Boeing airplanes. Whatever deal that is finalized may ultimately be more important to Britain than to the United States. Britain occupies the 11th spot among the United States' biggest trading partners. It represented 2.9% of total U.S. trade in the first quarter of the year, while the United States is Britain's largest single trading partner. Even so, most of that trading relationship is in services, which aren't affected by tariffs. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Regardless of the New York Times trying to pour cold water on this, this is a big deal, right? Because President Trump did what he promised that he was going to do, right? He said that he was going to work out better deals. He was going to open up markets for American producers. Particularly in this case, it seems like he's focused on agricultural producers, right? Helping out our farmers and stuff like that, which, you know, again, the media will not give him credit for, okay? They will not give him the win that he deserves, right? They'll talk about how much the farmers are hurting by the tariffs, but then once he gets a win for farmers by opening up markets for farmers, oh, now all of a sudden they're quiet. They don't have anything to say. Again, it's funny how that works. These people make me sick, but I hope you guys see the game here. Trump can't win, right? It doesn't matter what he does, right? Whether it's right or wrong, he can't win with the media. You're seeing that play out with this story right here. But I will say this about President Trump. Do not bet against him. I learned this after January 6th, after the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, after this man was almost assassinated, after he won the election. It's just not smart to bet against the man. It's just not smart. And I've seen it time and time again. People try to bet against the president, and he's overcome it every single time. So I'm just not a fool, right? When it comes to betting against President Trump. And that's why, like, I have faith that, hey, you know, all this stuff is going to work itself out, right? I mean, there's a lot of noise, okay? But when you actually see the vision, when you understand, okay, this is what they're trying to do, what they're doing can only help us, right? We only can gain from what he's doing, right? Despite the negativity, despite the BS, clearly you can see that the economy's not falling apart, right? Like the things they claim that are happening is not really happening, right? And that's what people got to say. These people are lying because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It doesn't matter what he does, good or bad. They're going to say it's bad, right? So you just shouldn't believe him at all, right? To be honest with you. I mean, they have no credibility, and they would rather see Trump fail than for America to win. They would rather see China win before Trump wins. They would rather see China win before America wins. If Trump losing means that America loses, they're totally fine with that, right? They are cheering on America losing, right? That's what they're doing. That's why I want people to realize what the media is doing right now. That's what they're doing. And it's a damn shame. It really is. They have not learned that you should not bet against this man. Don't do it. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.